was collaborative case management.
Okay, we're ready.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're listening and watching to this broadcast. Hello and welcome. I'm Leon Rock, and this is All Things Black Politics, live here from Washington, D.C. Yes, and I'm your host, and I have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about today. Oh, by the way, I have to apologize to you because guess what? For the past couple of weeks, I've been a little bit down and out, a little bit under the weather, but I'm back now. Yeah, and we're going to talk politics, and more politics. Oh, the politics is big, huge, large in Boston and in Washington, D.C. And we're going to cover as much as we can in this 1 hour broadcast. Oh, by the way, hold on and wait a minute. The House of Representatives has elected a Black man to lead the House of Representatives. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how, in the city of Boston, some people from another part of the world came in to the city of Boston over the past couple of days. And we're going to talk about that as well. Oh, and there's more. There's issues related to mass and caste that have come up again in the Boston City Council. We're going to talk about that as well. And let's talk about the Boston Public Schools. Yeah. Black folks aren't in the Boston Public Schools to the level that they used to be, and we're going to talk about that as well. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about first things first. Here in Washington, D.C., what happened with the House of Representatives? Yes, in the House, the Democrats elected Hakeem Jeffries, attorney Hakeem Jeffries, as its first Black leader in Congress. The New York congressman will assume the role as minority leader earlier next year, inheriting the position held by, Nancy Pelosi for decades. I have said over and over again that there needs to be a change of the guard with regards to Pelosi. And guess what? Finally, Nancy Pelosi has made the decision to move on and allow new leadership to ascend. And guess who it is? Yeah, the House Democrats on Wednesday elected New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries as their new leader, making him the first Black man to lead a major political party in Congress after Nancy Pelosi, the current speaker, announced that she is stepping down aside to pave the way for a new generation. Jeffries, who is 52, will assume the role as minority leader when the new Congress is sworn in early next year, inheriting the position held by, Nancy Pelosi for 2 decades, a towering figure in the Democratic politics who has, was the first female Speaker of the House. Well, guess what? The first Black man Speaker of the House is coming in, and he's Hakeem Jeffries. And I'm excited about this, my good friends. In a show of unity after losing the House, but delivering a stronger than expected performance in the midterms, Democrats unanimously approved Jeffries and 2 other top leadership positions, by acclamation. Emerging from the closed door meeting, the soon-to-be leader declared the House Democrats' fight for the people will continue. That's our story, that's our legacy, and that's our values, and that's our commitment. I'm loving him. The trio of top leaders led by Jeffries will include, and get this, a Massachusetts Congresswoman, Catherine Clark, 59, as whip, and Pete Oliger of California, 43, as caucus chair, in charge of messaging. They will take the mantle from three, folks that have been in the House of Representatives for so long. And I have to say, I'm an old school dude. You can see from the grade that I'm up there in age as well. But we, at some point, we must pass on that legacy, pass on that torch. And guess what? They are passing on that torch and passing on that legacy. Yes, Pelosi and her long-serving deputy, Steny Hoyer of Maryland, he's the majority leader, and James Clyburn, the whip from South Carolina, all decided, Steny Hoyer and James Clyburn, incidentally, all decided not to run for her seat. They knew that new leadership is necessary, and I salute them, but I salute more Hakeem Jeffries. In fact, I'm sure you remember Hakeem Jeffries. Yes, he was the guy, he's the man, he is the man that actually debated the issue of the impeachment. He was the lead man for the impeachment, yes, of Donald Trump. So go ahead, my good brother. So claps to Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah, there's more. Oh, we're going to cover a lot today. There is more. But let's go back to Boston. Let's come back to Boston for a minute. What's going on in Boston? What's going on in my hometown? Oh, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you read the article in the Boston Globe? Oh, yeah, front page article in the Boston Globe. And this one is important to my heart. Many years ago, I led a Boston Black student strike or a student movement. Yeah, because we felt that in the 1970s, that there was a dysfunctional school system. And guess what? That dysfunctional school system is still in existence. And Boston has lost half of its Black students in the past 20 years. Yeah, the Boston Globe has reported this in a very interesting article. I got to share with you some of the statistics here. Hold on and wait a minute. There is something wrong here. There's a decline in the number of Black students in the city of Boston's public schools. And the most striking shift, as reported in the Boston Globe, is that families are also voting with their feet. White and Asian enrollment also has fell in the 20-year stretch. White students make up just 15% of the school population in the Boston public schools. These losses have partially offset an additional 4,400 more Latino and multicultural students, but overall enrollment has plunged by more than 13,000 students since 2002, and it appears poised to keep falling as long as Black families continue to opting out of the school system. In a generation, the demographics of the city of Boston schools has been transformed. The Black enrollment, which makes up 49% of all BPS students in 2000 and 39% in 2008, has now declined to 30%, a proportion that is more closely mirrors the population of the city, where 19% of the residents are Black. The change shows in expected ways some challenges, my good friends. Yeah, some challenges, and the challenges are great. Boston is not alone in the transformation. Black enrollment in Los Angeles has also fell by half in 20 years. Chicago closed 50 of its schools in a decade ago to address its own enrollment downturn. Oh, there is more. In Boston, Black families cite long simmering impatience and frustration with the pace of school improvement. They point out the lottery system, which limits access to neighborhood schools, and concerns about unstable district leadership and uneven school quality. The Boston new superintendent, Mary Skipper, is the 9th to lead the district in the past 2 decades. Turnover has showed an effort to close the gap for students of color. Yeah, English learners and disabilities. Oh, there's more facts, my good friends. You got to read the article. It's amazing what is going on in the city of Boston. And get this, the major reason why there is a decline in Black folks going to Boston public schools is because Black folks are moving out of the city of Boston. It's become unaffordable, to say the least. Oh, we got to talk about this. By the way, you can call in. You know the number, my good friends. You know the number. It's sitting right there for you to look at. I think it's right there. Yeah, call in. Would love to hear from you. Call in at that number and would love to hear from you. Wow, the city of Boston is going through a lot of changes. But I'm not sure, we talk politics. We talk a lot of politics. There's something that has pretty much escaped us, right? Something just happened in the city of Boston that I'm loving. I'm not sure if the city of Boston is prepared for it, but I'm loving it. Yeah, GBH News is reporting, Adam Riley over at GBH News is reporting how the city of Boston has backed letting more teens vote, but pushback faces a uphill battle, yeah, on Beacon Hill. Yeah, the Boston City Council voted overwhelmingly on Wednesday to give 16 and 17-year-olders the right to vote in municipal elections. Did you hear that? The city of Boston's City Council voted overwhelmingly Wednesday to give 16 and 17-year-olds the right to vote in municipal elections. So clap for the city council on that one. But the prospects of the proposed change becoming reality remains murky. The 9-4 vote sends a home rule petition that would implement expanded eligibility to Mayor Michelle Wu. If she signs it, it will then go to the state legislature, which has chosen not to support similar proposals from several other Massachusetts communities. I'm hoping that the city council and the mayor, well, the city council has already voted for it. I'm hoping that the mayor will stand strong and sign the legislation. And I'm hoping that the state legislature and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will empower these 16 and 17-year-old youngsters to become more engaged in the political process at an early age, 16 and 17 years old. That is amazing stuff, my good friends. Yep, amazing to say the least. I'm loving it. This is Leon Rock, and this is All Things Black Politics live here from Washington, D.C. Well, there's more to talk about. Yes, more to talk about in the political realm. Yeah, the NBTA is having some challenges too. What happened with the orange line? What is going on with the orange line? The new head of the NBTA is addressing the quality and compliance issues and the oversight issues. Yeah, Katie Chow has been picked from a short list to direct the quality and compliance and oversight operations of the NBTA. We'll see how she addresses the orange line moving forward. Hold on and wait a minute, there's more. Oh, we're covering everything today. The Boston City Council, yes, had a hearing. And by the way, I got to cover this one. We got to talk about this one. The Boston City Council had a hearing just recently, and they were talking about how the Boston city officials are defending the distribution of crack meth pipes on Mass and Cass. We've covered this conversation before. Wait a minute. There's something wrong in my humble observation and opinion on this issue. Yep, there's something wrong. I got to show you this picture. Wait a minute. Let me show you this picture. Oh, not my picture. Let me show. No, I had planned to show a picture of the situation over at Mass and Cass, but I can't get it up. This picture is horrific. It's showing in the Boston Herald a picture of Southampton Street in Mass and Cass on this methadone mile that is called. The Wu administration, as reported in the Boston Herald, I'm going to cover the Boston Herald. I'm not a fan of the Boston Herald per se, but I got to cover this because they have an interesting article. Sean Philip Potter over at the Boston Herald is reporting how the Wu administration, the Wu officials came to a city council hearing defending its strategy of handing out crack. It should be called crap and meth pipes, among other drug paraphernalia on Mass and Cass. Crack and meth pipes, among other drug paraphernalia on Mass and Cass. How do you say that word? Anyway, paraphernalia. There you go, I got it. On Mass and Cass, this is a strategy that works. There's documented data to suggest that it works. And I think it's an important thing that we do, said the Boston Public Health Commissioner, Executive Director, yes, and Mayor Wu's top health official told the city council, pushing her on a controversial strategy. Her Boston Public Health Commission and several other city partners in the troubled South End area called Mass and Cass, or more disparagingly, methadone mile, a distribution, safer injection, and safer smoking kits that can include glass pipes of crack and meth and other smoking specific items like filters and pipe tips, as well as hookahs and tourniquets and intravenous drug use. Whew. The Herald reported that the details of that situation in October, I think we covered this back in October, leading to the scrutiny of the Boston City Council. And this hearing on Thursday that included the Boston Health Commissioner and its coordinator, Tania Del Rio, and Lieutenant Peter Messina, who runs the Boston Police Department's response there. She said part of the reason for the crack and meth smoking items is that the city is trying to get people who are shooting up to transition to a type of drug use which lacks some of the medical issues that intravenous use can come with. This line of thought is part of the harm reduction ethos that the city and some activists focus on. This is hard for me to understand. Yeah, the Boston Health Commissioner defined it as a broad spectrum of strategies, many of which are very clinically focused and designed to reduce the negative and often life-threatening consequences of substance use. We want to make sure that people are using them in the way that decreases their harm. A few of the council members, particularly those on a relatively conservative flank of the body, took issue with that. What's next? Passing out coke and crack and meth, said Councilor Michael Flaherty, the public safety chair who introduced a hearing order on this. I don't see anything more harmful to a drug addict than passing out crack pipes and meth pipes. City Councilor Frank Baker, whose district includes Mass and Cass, where the city estimates that that even with the numbers dwindled by the code, 75 to 100 people are still out in the streets every day, said the city's approach looks like a hospice. Yeah, but City Councilor Julia Mejia is having none of that. She pushed back on some of the more centrist colleagues and criticized their approach at taken in the hearing, particularly the way others were talking about everything. Well, City Councilor Julia Mejia said the use of words like addict and crack pipes are harmful to those who have loved ones out on the street, she said, adding that she is apologizing on behalf of the city council for people tuning in to the meeting. Well, Flaherty was having none of that as well. He said also some of the councilors, including Brian Worrell and Gigi Coletta, who typically vote more with the progressives, added that he wants more data and focus on how many people are getting sober through the city's programs. I really want to have an emphasis on recovery, Flaherty said. Well, the Boston Health Commissioner responded to him and said, we want the same thing. That is an interesting article out of the Boston Herald. Pretty interesting conversation on the part of the city councilors in attempting to address this challenge. I'm not too sure if we can sweet talk this issue of what is a crack pipe and what is not a crack pipe. A crack pipe is a crack pipe, folks. I don't want to sweet talk that issue. Do you? This is All Things Black Politics, live here from Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Leon Rock. Yeah, there's some challenges. Hold on and wait a minute. Let's go to another city. Just for a second, because this right here, this issue of mass and castes is being challenged even in many ways in New York City, which is taking a different approach than the city of Boston. See, the city of Boston is essentially saying in so many ways that people that are drug addicted, people that have a challenge with drugs, well, we want to help them out and do less harm. I'm not sure if it's doing more harm or less harm. That's the conversation to be had today. You can call in, you know the number. I'm not sure that it's doing less harm. Take a look at New York City. Take a look at Mayor Adams, who is facing backlash for his move to involuntarily hospitalize homeless people. Yeah. He is coming under backlash. He's facing backlash after moving forward with a host of policy changes that crack down on the city's homeless population. Similar to what is going on with mass and caste homeless population, generally speaking. Many addicted. But the city of New York is taking a different stance, and the mayor is getting some pushback. On Tuesday, Adams announced that officials will begin hospitalizing more homeless people by involuntarily providing care to those deemed to be in psychiatric crisis. He says that for too long, there has been a gray area where policy, law, and accountability have been unclear. And this has allowed people in need to slip through the cracks. This culture of uncertainty has led to untold suffering and deep frustration. It cannot continue, says the mayor. We're talking about the mayor of New York City, not the mayor of the city of Boston. I'm trying to build some correlation here, and there is correlation. And for months, Adams and his administration have discussed stopping unhoused people from sheltering in subways despite pending budget cuts that will remove services the city provides to the homeless. At least 470 people have been reportedly arrested this year for being outstretched or taking up more than one seat in a train car. In March, authorities targeted those living under the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway in Williamsburg, while Adams reportedly attended an event promoting Wells Fargo credit card people can use to pay rent. Oh, there's more. Adams, the mayor of the city of New York, policies drew criticism from advocates for the homeless people. Check this out. This is what one person has to say. Jacqueline Simone, who is a policy director for the Coalition for the Homeless, has said in a statement that the mayor's Adams continues to get it wrong when it comes to his reliance on ineffective surveillance, policing, involuntary transport and treatment of people with mental illness. Well, I'm not too sure about that. Maybe people with mental illness on the streets of Boston and New York need critical care, need help. Maybe I'm wrong too. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the mayor of the city of New York is wrong. Excuse me. Is there a correlation between what is going on in Boston and what is going on in New York City? I'm not sure. But I'll tell you, it's not good. It's not good, my good friends. I don't think, and maybe we can get the Boston Health Commissioner on the show at some point. I'm sure we can, to talk about this. I know in the city of Baltimore many years ago, and New York City and other cities like Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, I remember reading that many years ago about the fact that they had been giving out needles for people that are addicted to not catch AIDS. And they gave out needles for heroin addicts to be able to save their lives by not sharing the needles with others. Not sure if that was a good strategy or a bad strategy. I know that it existed. And so the city of Boston has doubled down on that strategy and is giving essentially crack pipes and I'm saying it. Crack pipes. That's what it is. It's crack pipes. It's not insulting. It's crack pipes. Oh, it's not crack anymore. Well, what do you want to call it? It's giving out paraphernalia. And I think it's giving out paraphernalia in an unwise way. That's just my opinion. Maybe the data is different from my opinion. I'm just going from the gut right now, that it seems as though it's not a wise decision. But who am I? Who are we? As someone that grew up in the Orchard Park community many years ago, I know it was the 1950s, early 60s. But I grew up in the Orchard Park community, and I know, I gotta say, I don't know if I told this story before. Grew up in Orchard Park, and pretty much every day during the week, I would walk from Orchard Park to my grandmother's house over on Charlotte Avenue, grandfather's house, over on Charlotte Avenue, every day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturdays as well. I would walk. And by the way, I would walk in the area that is now known as Mass and Cass. I was 11, 12, 13 years old at the time. It was a safer community then. Kids could walk in neighborhoods. My moms would have me walk to my grandmother and grandfather's house. Spend some time with them every day. But here's the deal. The reason why I'm bringing this up is the fact that I was walking in that area that is Mass and Cass. Oh my. I am so glad, and I know my late mom's is glad too, that I had not had to walk through a Mass and Cass area at 11, 12, and 13 years old to get to my grandmother and grandfather's house from Orchard Park to Charlotte Avenue. I can't imagine how kids feel when they have to walk through that madness. I can't imagine how kids feel when they're playing football, baseball, basketball, and see all the syringes lined up of folks shooting up. With taxpayer money for that paraphernalia as well. There's something wrong with that, I have to say. There appears to be something wrong with that. Maybe, just maybe, someone could give me intelligent guidance on the logic behind it. I'm with the other city council people that need information. The Black community of Boston, the community of Boston deserves the data that is supportive of the logic behind providing paraphernalia, taxpayer money paraphernalia to those who have the challenge of drug addiction on Mass and Cass. But that's just my observation. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. Need some words of wisdom. Yes, I have to pray on this. Our city needs prayer right now. My city, my hometown of Boston needs prayer. Continues to need prayer, my good friends. That's my observation, and I could be right. I could be wrong too. Who knows? So I tried to give a correlation between what has happened in New York City, where the mayor of the city of New York is addressing the challenge of homelessness and challenges of psychiatric need for mental health services by essentially addressing it in an aggressive way. Eva Wong, director of the mayor's office over in New York City and his community mental health initiative, says that these new protocols regarding emergency services for those people that are on the streets are critical to be able to address the crisis of homelessness and the crisis of mental health within the homeless community. Well, I guess I understand about the backlash that the mayor is receiving. Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, for his moving forward to address the challenge, the psychiatric challenge of homelessness and psychiatric challenge of people that are homeless having mental health concerns. I'm not too sure if requiring involuntary psychiatric assistance, involuntary psychiatric assistance is necessary, but hey, guess what? From time to time, you have to commit people. From time to time, you really have to commit people. That's a reality, my good friends. That is reality. This is Leon Rock, and this is All Things Black Politics Live here from Washington, D.C. Well, we've talked about the Boston public school system. We've talked about the fact that there are challenges with the city of Boston moving forward with mass and caste. Hey, there's one other thing I did want to talk about, and this is amazing. And it has nothing to do with politics, but everything to do with politics. And that is, and I have to celebrate, and I'm sure you need to celebrate as well, about the Greater Roxbury Arts and Cultural Center, the Performing Arts Center at Nubian Square ascends. Yeah, Tanisha Nash Laird is now the inaugural president and CEO. Yeah, announced just a few days ago. Yes, Tanisha Nash Laird will assume her role as the inaugural president and CEO of the Greater Roxbury Arts and Cultural Center, the Performing Arts and Cultural Center that is part of Nubian Square Ascends, a Black developer-led new construction mixed-use redevelopment on the Lair lot on City of Boston-owned parcel in the heart of Roxbury neighborhood. You remember, if you were old school, you remember the old Blair's Foodland? Oh, my mama used to send me shopping over there. Well, and we used to go shopping as a family at Blair's Foodland. I think it was called Blair's Foodland, but we used to call it Blair's. Well, Nubian Square, formerly known as Dudley Square, is a state of Massachusetts designated art and cultural district. The nonprofit Performing Arts Center will be the space where Black theater, Black dance, Black cinema, Black art are brought to the forefront. Yes, the Greater Roxbury Arts and Cultural Center, or CRACC, will be a world-class industry-leading venue with a nexus for Black culture in Boston. Now, about her appointment, to the a distinguished developer and Nubian Ascends managing partner, Richard L. Taylor, whose recent investments include the Omni Boston Hotel at Seaport. Taylor is also author of Martha's Vineyard, Race, Property, and Power of place. Yes, he said that the Boston arts and cultural and music community is honored and welcome to the gifted Tanisha Nash Laird. Hold on and wait a minute. We're going to bring other folks on in a minute. Let me continue with this conversation. Boston Arts and Cultural and Music Community is honored to welcome the gifted Tanisha Nash Laird to our city, he said. Her leadership as president of Nubian Performance Hall will provide a magnificent platform for community-based groups and visiting performance talent to seek a diverse audience venue in Boston. She has a distinguished record of accomplishment at Newark Symphony Hall and other prior roles, which, well, make her the perfect selection for Boston. Well, hold on, wait a minute, there's more. A result of over a decade of work by community members and residents, Nubian Square is the epicenter of redevelopment efforts. Nubian Square Ascends Development aims to restore the neighborhood vitality by providing space to local artists, small businesses, food and culinary entrepreneurs, promoting art, culture, expanding affordable housing for artists, and connecting residents and the burgeoning life science sector through job training and economic opportunities is more. I'm going to send you all a link. Well, I don't know how to say, well, you know what? On Facebook, Tanisha Nash Laird, posted celebrating her own coming to birth here in Roxbury with the Roxbury Cultural District and the Roxbury Arts and Cultural Center. It's outstanding. All I can do is just say outstanding. But let's bring in folks that want to have a conversation. Come on in, Dr. Sharon Hinton. You have a question or a thought.
So good morning to you and Pastor Wall. So many questions, so many thoughts, and I'll rattle them off really quickly because I know we're at the end of the show. One is this visit from the royals that people were clamoring over. It just amazes me that we had this war in 1776 to free us from the king. And then, you know, the queen died this year and so many people were lamenting, but people of color were still saying, you know, ding dong, the witch is dead, because if you look at the history of Great Britain and how it colonized and brutalized the world and peoples of color through the world, not everybody was so sad about the demise of the royalty. And so to have them there, and I understand the Green New Deal and people want to be next to royals and famous people and stuff like that, but I wasn't so happy about that. To me, it was celebrating another colonizer, regardless of the fact that Prince William, apologized for his godmother's racist comments earlier in the month. So that's the other thing. I wasn't so happy about that. The other thing is the Arts and Cultural Center, you know, kudos to them. However, I do remember Blair's and Zales, Zares and Robels and Mr. G's and all that stuff. Ferdinand's. I remember when Ferdinand's was open and it wasn't the bowling building and it was actually a store. So I remember when the Black community was thriving and we could go to Blue Hill Avenue or Grove Hall or Dudley, because it was Dudley at that point, before we even went downtown, where they didn't want to open up doors and glass cases for us to touch or view the products and stuff that were down there. And I have gone through Nubian Square. There are very few Nubians in Nubian Square now. Kudos to Siddiqui Cambone for changing the name, and shame on the city for taking so long doing that. But when you go through Nubian Square, it looks like the Walking Dead through there, because there's so much drug activity in there. And I recently, yesterday, was talking to someone who has a business near Andrew Station, which is up the street from Mass and Cass. And those businesses are suffering, they're closing, they're losing money through the theft that's happening in the stores from people who are drug addicted. I've seen the services being diminished And it's interesting how when the Royals were here, and I saw comments on Facebook about how Mass and Cass got cleaned up so quickly because we have visitors, which is what people did during Thanksgiving. They're going to do Christmas. When you got visitors, all of a sudden, the trash and the clutter is someplace else. And so I'm wondering how long it's going to take for these people to be back and where they put these people so that there was a good face of Boston to the royal couple that came here. In terms of Boston public schools, I decided not to go for a membership on the Boston School Committee because it's still dysfunctional. It's still dysfunctional, and when I look at it, there are two openings. The chair, Jerry Robinson, her tenure is up, and also Quark Schran, his tenure is up. And supposedly, I don't know if those are real positions. Jerry Robinson may not be going to be reappointed, but as long as we have an appointed school committee and not elected school committee, that whole system is dysfunctional. And so I'm in these meetings of, special education is still an issue. The McKinley schools is still an issue. Some of the same things that were putting Boston Public Schools in jeopardy of being taken over by the state, by DESE, are still there. And so we can, some people say put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. And so I'm focusing on Black Teachers Matter and on getting my doctorate because the situation that's happening still to Black teachers and teachers of color is still happening. The system that's happening and with the leadership of color that's been pushed out of Boston Public Schools all of a sudden is not on the front page, but these people are still fighting for their lives and their careers. And there are people that look like us that are not fighting in high positions that could be fighting. And in Boston, I know you're in DC and you talk about Boston politics and your heart and your family and stuff is here. And so I thank you for highlighting these situations on a weekly basis, on a regular basis in your professional life, but on a weekly basis on Boston Praise Radio and Pastor Wall fighting to keep this vehicle of democracy of communication here in light of other people taking over Twitter and stuff like that. We won't discuss that. But, there are too many people that are apathetic or who are numb, I guess, or just burnt out or whatever, that are letting stuff go by as if it's a done deal. COVID, I went to a performance at the Wang 2 nights ago, and it was packed, and most people are not wearing their masks. Guess what? COVID is still out here getting people sick and killing people.
So
And Black people are complicit with this, and they need to stop the foolishness. Wake up and do something. Don't just lament about it. Go ahead.
Let me pose a question to you, and that is going back to your original comment about the Royals coming into town. And I was actually surprised at the fact that there was no demonstrations, there was no conversation within the African American community regarding the Royals and their history, and with the woman who happened to be a nonprofit head, organization head that was there, and then one of the members of the royal family staff degrading her in that way. There was an apology, but why was there no conversation in the African American community about the appropriateness of the royal family coming into Boston, and why was there such excitement from some Black folks in Boston about the Royals coming? I didn't understand it. What was going on?
And so that's the part that bothers me. And not only the African American community, but there's a strong Caribbean community. You talk about slavery and oppression. You got to talk about Great Britain and the Royals. And it was raining outside, but that's no excuse. There were barriers and police presence up there because, the city and the government wanted to have, because it wasn't just the city, because Governor-elect Maura Healey was there too. So the city and the state were complicit in whitewashing even though we have a mayor of color, whitewashing the brutal history of the British colonies.
Yes.
And the Caribbean community didn't say anything either. And by the way, the city hall is right in view of Faneuil Hall, and Kevin Peterson has been trying to get the name of that changed because Peter Faneuil was a slaveholder. So right in the shadow of City Hall is Faneuil Hall, and there's the history of subjugation of people of color, Black people, and so the Caribbean community, I didn't see any outcry from them either.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is going on when people figure somebody else is going to deal with it. We don't fight for this. Then don't complain when you don't fight for your freedom. Don't complain when it keeps getting taken away. There are Supreme Court rulings right now to get rid of affirmative action and admissions for college. There are Supreme Court rulings now talking about the vote for Black people. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
And interestingly enough, it was Harvard University, is some students from Harvard University that led that effort. Listen, we are at closure. Thank you very much for coming into the program, and we appreciate your comments as usual.
Thank you.
Okay,
God bless
you have
you.
a good day. All right,
You too. God bless.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for coming into the broadcast. This is All Things Black Politics, live here from Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Leon Rock. We've covered a lot today, but we're going to cover a lot next week. Come back soon. We look forward to talking and being with you here live from Washington, D.C. Have a good day.